3 weeks after the incident at the gas station, Minji sat in a comfortable office with soft lighting and a couch that felt like a cloud. Across from her sat Dr. Sarah Chen, a therapist who specialized in helping young people heal from trauma. This was Minji's 4th session, and each time it got a little easier to talk. "How have you been feeling this week?" Dr. Chen asked gently. Minji thought for a moment. "Better, I think. I still have nightmares sometimes, but they are not as bad as they were." "That is good progress," Dr. Chen said with an encouraging smile. "Healing takes time. You are doing really well." After Minji's mother had picked her up from the gas station that day, they had driven home mostly in silence. Her mother cried the entire drive, apologizing over and over. Minji told her it was not her fault. Derek had fooled both of them. When they got home, her mother took a week off from work. They spent the days talking, crying, and beginning to heal together. Her mother felt guilty for not seeing the signs, for working so many hours, for bringing Derek into their lives. But Minji did not blame her. She knew her mother had been trying to give them a better life. The police investigation moved quickly. Derek was charged with kidnapping, child abuse, assault, false imprisonment, and several other crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. Minji's testimony, John Cena's statement, and the fact that Derek had taken her across state lines without permission all added up. Derek's lawyer tried to make a deal, but the prosecutor was not interested. This was going to trial, and Derek was likely going to prison for many years. Minji had to meet with police and lawyers several times to give statements and prepare for the trial. It was exhausting and scary, but the victim advocate assigned to her case made it easier. The advocate explained everything in simple terms and made sure Minji never felt alone or afraid. Child Protective Services also got involved. They investigated the home situation and interviewed both Minji and her mother. After a thorough review, they determined that Minji's mother had not been aware of the abuse and had taken immediate action to protect her daughter once she learned the truth. Minji was allowed to stay with her mother, but they had to attend counseling together and have regular check-ins with a social worker. Minji did not mind. The counseling was actually helping, and the social worker, a kind woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, was easy to talk to. "Have you been keeping up with your schoolwork?" Dr. Chen asked during their session. Minji nodded. "Yeah. The school gave me some time off after everything happened, but I went back last week. It feels good to have a normal routine again." Her teachers had been understanding and supportive. They gave her extensions on assignments and extra help when she needed it. Some of her classmates knew what had happened because it had been in the local news. A few people asked her questions or stared at her in the hallways. But most people were kind and respectful of her privacy. Her best friend Hannah had been especially supportive. Hannah came over almost every day after school to hang out, watch movies, or just talk. She never pushed Minji to share more than she was ready to. She just let Minji know she was there no matter what. "What about the nightmares you mentioned?" Dr. Chen asked. "Can you tell me about them?" Minji shifted on the couch. This was the hard part. Talking about the bad memories. "I dream that I am back in the car with Derek, and he is driving and I am making the hand signal, but nobody sees me. Everyone just walks by, and then Derek turns around and tells me that nobody is ever going to help me." "That sounds very frightening," Dr. Chen said. "It is," Minji admitted. "But then I wake up and I remember that it is not real anymore. Someone did see me. John Cena saw me. He helped me." "That is an important thing to remember," Dr. Chen said. "When you have those nightmares, try to remind yourself of the truth. Someone did see you. You were saved. You are safe now." Minji nodded. It was good advice. She would try to remember it. "Have you had any contact with Mr. Cena since that day?" Dr. Chen asked. Minji's face brightened. "Actually, yes. He called me last week." It had been a surprise. Minji was doing homework when her mother handed her the phone and said someone wanted to talk to her. When she heard John Cena's voice on the other end, she almost dropped the phone. John had called to check on her and see how she was doing. They talked for almost 30 minutes. He asked about school, about therapy, about how she was coping. He told her funny stories from movie sets to make her laugh. And before he hung up, he told her something she would never forget. "You know, Minji," John had said, "what happened to you was terrible. But you survived it, and now you have a choice. You can let what happened define you, or you can let it strengthen you. I think you are already choosing strength. Keep going. Keep fighting. You are tougher than you know." Those words had meant everything to Minji. She wrote them down in her journal and read them whenever she felt scared or weak. He also said he wants to visit us when he is in Florida again, Minji told Dr. Chen with a small smile. He said he wants to bring me some resources about domestic violence awareness and recovery. And he wants to meet my mom properly. That is wonderful, Dr. Chen said. It sounds like Mr. Cena really cares about your well-being. He does, Minji said. I think he sees me as a person, not just a victim or someone he rescued. He sees me as someone strong who saved herself. As the weeks turned into months, Minji continued to heal. Her nightmares became less frequent. She smiled more often. She started to feel safe again in her own skin. Her mother changed too. She cut her hours at work and made sure she was home more often. They had dinner together every night and talked about their days. They watched movies on weekends and went for walks in the park. They were rebuilding their relationship, making it stronger than before. The trial date was set for 6 months after the incident. Minji was nervous about having to testify, but she was also ready. She wanted to tell her story. She wanted to make sure Derek could not hurt anyone else. One day, about 2 months after the gas station incident, Minji was scrolling through social media when she saw something that made her heart skip. John Cena had posted a video about domestic violence awareness. In the video, he talked about the hand signal and demonstrated how to do it. He explained what it meant and urged people to learn it and share it. Then, at the end of the video, he said something that made Minji cry. Recently, I met a brave young woman who used this signal to save herself from a dangerous situation, John said, looking directly into the camera. She tried to get help for a long time and nobody understood what she was trying to say. But she did not give up. Her courage and determination saved her life. If you learn nothing else from this video, learn this. Pay attention to the people around you. Notice when something seems wrong, and if you see someone making this signal, understand what it means and get help immediately. You could save a life. The video went viral. Within days, millions of people had watched it and shared it. The comments were filled with people thanking John for raising awareness and praising Minji's bravery. Even though he had not mentioned her name, several news outlets reached out to Minji and her mother for interviews. At first, they said no. Minji was not ready to be in the public eye. But after talking with Dr. Chen and thinking about it carefully, Minji decided to do one interview with a reputable journalist who specialized in human interest stories. The interview was published in a major national magazine. Minji's face was on the cover, looking strong and confident. The article told her story honestly and respectfully. It talked about the abuse she suffered, the hand signal she used, and John Cena's quick action that saved her. But it also focused on her strength, her courage, and her journey of healing. The response was overwhelming. Minji received thousands of messages from people all over the country. Some were from other abuse survivors who thanked her for speaking out. Some were from parents who said they were teaching their children about the hand signal because of her story. Some were from people who simply wanted to tell her she was brave and inspiring. One message stood out among all the others. It was from a teenage boy named Marcus who lived in California. He wrote that he had been in an abusive home situation and had felt completely alone. After reading Minji's story, he found the courage to tell a teacher what was happening. The teacher got him help, and he was now living with his grandmother in a safe, loving home. Your story saved my life, Marcus wrote. Thank you for being brave enough to share it. When Minji read that message, she cried. But they were good tears. Tears of hope and purpose. 3 months after the interview was published, John Cena finally made it back to Florida. He visited Minji and her mother at their apartment, bringing flowers, books about healing and resilience, and information about support groups for abuse survivors. You will be an amazing counselor, John said with certainty. You have empathy, strength, and experience. You will change lives. Before he left, John asked Minji if she would be interested in working with him on a public awareness campaign. He wanted to create educational materials about recognizing signs of abuse and the importance. The words hung in the air like a bomb that had just exploded. Everyone at the gas station seemed to freeze. People who had been watching from a distance gasped. The police officers immediately moved into action. Miss, come with me, the second officer said gently, placing himself between Minji and Derek. You are safe now. Derek's face turned bright red. This is ridiculous, he shouted. She is lying. She is just a troubled kid who causes problems. Sir, I need you to put your hands where I can see them, the first officer said, his voice firm and commanding. "I have not done anything wrong," Derek yelled, but even as he said it, his eyes darted around like he was looking for an escape route. "Hands up now," the officer repeated. Derek slowly raised his hands, but his face was twisted with anger. "This is insane. You are going to believe some lying teenager over me?" The first officer moved behind Derek and pulled out handcuffs. "Sir, you are being detained for questioning. Do not resist. This is police brutality," Derek shouted as the officer cuffed his hands behind his back. "I am going to sue all of you." John watched as they put Derek in the back of one of the police cars. He felt a wave of relief wash over him. The girl was safe now. The man could not hurt her anymore. Minji stood next to the second police officer, crying quietly. Her thin shoulders shook with each sob. The officer, a woman in her 30s with kind eyes, put a gentle hand on Minji's back. "It is okay," the officer said softly. "You are safe now. Nobody is going to hurt you." John walked over slowly, not wanting to intrude but wanting to make sure the girl was all right. The female officer looked at him and nodded, giving him permission to approach. "Hey," John said quietly to Minji, "you did the right thing. You were very brave." Minji looked up at him with red, swollen eyes. "You saw my signal," she whispered. "You knew what it meant." "I did," John said, kneeling down so he was at her eye level. "I saw you making the sign and I knew you needed help." "Nobody else saw it," Minji said, her voice breaking. "I tried so many times. I thought nobody was going to help me." "I saw it," John said firmly, "and I am so glad I did. You were smart to use that signal. It saved you." The female officer looked at John with respect. "Sir, we are going to need your statement about what you witnessed. Would you be able to stay for a bit?" "Of course," John said immediately. "I will stay as long as you need me." More police cars arrived at the scene. One of them was an unmarked car with a detective inside. He was an older man with gray hair and a serious face. He spoke briefly with the uniformed officers, then approached Minji. "Hello, I am Detective Martinez," he said in a calm, professional voice. "I work with cases involving young people. Can you tell me your name?" "Minji Park," she said quietly. "Minji, I need to ask you some questions," Detective Martinez said. "But first, I want you to know that you are not in any trouble. You did nothing wrong. We just need to understand what happened so we can help you. Is that okay?" Minji nodded slowly. "Is there somewhere private we can talk?" the detective asked the female officer. "The gas station manager said we could use the back office," the officer replied. They walked toward the convenience store, and John watched them go. He felt both relieved and worried. Relieved that Minji was safe, but worried about what she had been through. No kid should have to experience something like that. Another officer approached John with a notepad. "Mr. Cena, I need to get your statement. Can you walk me through what you saw?" John nodded and began explaining everything from the moment he noticed Minji in the car to the moment the police arrived. He described the hand signal in detail and explained how he recognized it from the public safety campaign he had worked on. "If you had not recognized that signal, we might never have known she was in danger," the officer said, writing everything down. "You may have saved her life." "I just did what anyone should do," John said. "I saw someone in trouble and I got help." "Most people would have just ignored it or not understood what they were seeing," the officer said. "You made a choice to pay attention and take action. That matters." As John finished giving his statement, he saw Detective Martinez coming out of the convenience store. The detective looked angry and disturbed. He walked over to the car where Derek was sitting in handcuffs and spoke to the uniformed officers. John could not hear what they were saying, but he saw the officers' faces grow serious. Whatever Minji had told the detective, it was bad. After about 20 minutes, the detective walked over to John. "Mr. Cena, I want to thank you for your quick thinking today. That young girl has been through a terrible ordeal. She told me everything. Is she going to be okay?" John asked. "Physically, she will be fine," the detective said. "Emotionally, it will take time. She has been living with abuse for months. That man Derek has been hurting her regularly. Her mother works long hours and did not know the extent of what was happening. Derek was careful to hide his abuse when the mother was around." John felt sick to his stomach. That is horrible. 2 days ago, Derek took Minji from their home without the mother's knowledge or permission, the detective continued. The mother came home from work and found them gone. She has been frantically trying to reach Derek, but he turned off his phone. She filed a missing person report yesterday. So he basically kidnapped her, John said. Yes, the detective confirmed. We are going to charge him with kidnapping, child abuse, assault, and several other crimes. He is going to prison for a long time. John nodded, feeling a mix of anger at Derek and relief that he would face justice. What happens to Minji now? We have contacted her mother, the detective said. She is driving down here right now to pick up her daughter.
She should arrive in a couple of hours.
In the meantime, a social worker is with Minji, making sure she has everything she needs. Can I see her? John asked. I just want to make sure she is okay before I leave. The detective hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Let me check with her first. Some victims of abuse do not want to be around men after what they have been through, but let me ask. The detective went back into the convenience store and came out a minute later. She said she would like to see you. She wants to thank you. John followed the detective inside to the back office. Minji was sitting in a chair with a blanket around her shoulders. A woman in casual clothes, the social worker, sat next to her. Minji looked small and fragile, but there was also something different about her now. A spark of hope in her eyes that had not been there before. Hi, John said gently, standing in the doorway. Hi, Minji said, her voice stronger than before. Thank you for helping me. If you had not been there, if you had not known what my signal meant. You do not need to thank me, John said. You are the brave one. You kept trying to signal for help even when nobody seemed to notice. You did not give up. I wanted to give up, Minji admitted. When nobody understood what I was trying to do, I thought it was hopeless. But you kept trying, John said. And that is what saved you. Your courage and determination. A tear rolled down Minji's cheek, but this time it was not a tear of fear or sadness. It was a tear of relief. The detective told me that my mom is coming to get me, Minji said. I was so scared that Derek would hurt her too, or that she would not believe me. Your mother loves you, the social worker said kindly. She had no idea what Derek was doing. She thought you were both safe at home when she was at work. She feels terrible about what happened. It is not her fault, Minji said quickly. Derek was good at hiding who he really was. John knelt down again so he was at Minji's eye level. Minji, what you went through was traumatic and wrong. You might have some hard days ahead as you heal from this. But I want you to remember something. You are strong. You are a survivor. And you saved yourself today by being smart and brave. Minji nodded, more tears streaming down her face. But she was smiling now, just a little. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. John stayed at the gas station for another hour, making sure Minji had everything she needed. He gave his phone number to the detective and the social worker, telling them to call him if Minji or her mother needed anything at all. Finally, as the sun began to set, he got back in his SUV to continue his journey. But he knew he would never forget this day, the day a simple hand signal and a moment of awareness changed everything for one scared teenager. Derek stared at John Cena like he was seeing a ghost. His mouth hung open, and for a moment he forgot all about Minji, the trip, and everything else. He was standing face to face with one of the most famous wrestlers in the world. I cannot believe this, Derek said, shaking his head. My brother is a huge fan of yours. He watches all your matches. He is going to freak out when I tell him I met you. John smiled warmly and extended his hand. That is awesome. What is your name? Derek, the man said, shaking John's hand eagerly. This is just unbelievable. What are you doing at a random gas station in Florida? Just driving through, John said with a casual shrug. Sometimes I like to drive instead of fly. Gives me time to think, you know? Derek nodded enthusiastically. Yeah, I totally get that. Man, this is so cool. John glanced quickly at the sedan. Through the window, he could see Minji in the back seat. She was watching them with wide, frightened eyes. Their eyes met for just a second, and John gave her the smallest nod. He hoped she understood that help was coming. So, do you want that autograph? John asked Derek, pulling his attention back. I have some time before I need to get back on the road. Are you serious? Derek asked, his face lighting up. That would be amazing. Do you have something I can sign? John asked, looking around. Derek patted his pockets. Let me check. He pulled out his wallet, some receipts, and looked frustrated. I do not have anything good. No problem, John said smoothly. Let me check my car. I think I have some paper. He walked back to his SUV slowly, buying more time. He could hear Derek following him. John opened his car door and pretended to search through his things. He found a napkin from a fast food restaurant and held it up. Will this work? Sure, anything, Derek said, grinning like a child on Christmas morning. John pulled a pen from his cup holder and wrote a quick message on the napkin. He made sure to write slowly, taking his time with each letter. As he wrote, he made conversation. So where are you headed? John asked, trying to sound casual. Oh, just visiting family, Derek said quickly. My brother lives a few hours from here. John nodded, still writing. Nice, road trips with family can be fun. Is that your daughter in the car? There was a brief pause. John looked up and saw Derek's face change for just a second. A flash of something dark passed through his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by a fake smile. Something like that, Derek said vaguely. She is my girlfriend's kid. John felt his stomach tighten. The way Derek said it, the tone in his voice confirmed what John already suspected. Something was very wrong here. Cool, John said, keeping his voice light and friendly. He finished writing the autograph and handed it to Derek. There you go. Derek took the napkin and looked at it with excitement. This is so great. Thank you, man. No problem, John said. Hey, would you like to take a selfie too? That way you will have proof that we met. Derek's eyes lit up even more. Really? That would be incredible. Absolutely, John said. He put his arm around Derek's shoulder and held up his phone. Let me take it. My arms are longer. As John positioned the phone for the selfie, he glanced at his watch. It had been about 4 minutes since he called 911. The police should be here in another 3 minutes or so. He just needed to keep stalling. Okay, smile, John said, snapping a photo. He looked at it and frowned. The lighting is weird. Let me take another one. He took another photo, then another. Each time he found some small problem with it. The angle was wrong. Someone was walking in the background. Derek's eyes were closed. Derek did not seem to mind. He was enjoying every second of this unexpected celebrity encounter. While they took photos, John kept positioning them so he could see the road. He was watching for police cars. Where were they? It felt like the longest 5 minutes of his life. So do you live around here? Derek asked, still riding the high of meeting someone famous. No, I live in California, John said. But I travel a lot for work. Movies, charity events, that kind of thing. That must be so cool, Derek said. Traveling everywhere, meeting people, being famous. It has its moments, John said. He was running out of ways to stall. He had given Derek an autograph and taken multiple photos. If he dragged this out much longer, it would start to seem suspicious. Then from the corner of his eye, John saw what he had been waiting for. 2 police cars were pulling into the gas station parking lot. They were moving slowly, not using their sirens or lights. Smart. They did not want to spook Derek. Hey, Derek, John said, putting his hand on the man's shoulder in a friendly way. Do you mind if I say hi to your stepdaughter? I always like to meet young fans. Derek's smile faltered slightly. Oh, she is not really a fan. She does not follow wrestling much. That is okay, John said, already walking toward the sedan. I will just say a quick hello. Derek followed him, but John could sense the man's mood changing. The excitement was fading, replaced by suspicion and tension. John walked to the car and leaned down to look through the window at Minji. She stared back at him with a mixture of hope and fear. Hey there, John said gently through the glass. How's it going? Minji did not say anything. She just looked at him with those scared eyes. Behind John, Derek was getting nervous. We really should get going. We have a long drive ahead of us. Just 1 second, John said, not moving from the car window. He wanted to be right here, blocking Derek from getting into the car when the police arrived. No, seriously, we need to go, Derek said, his voice becoming harder. He moved toward the driver's door. That was when the police officers approached. Excuse me, sir, one of the officers called out. Can we talk to you for a moment? Derek spun around and saw 2 uniformed officers walking toward him. His face went pale, then red. His whole body tensed. What is this about? Derek asked, his voice sharp. We just need to ask you a few questions, the officer said calmly. It will only take a minute. I have not done anything wrong, Derek said. His hands were balling into fists at his sides. Nobody said you did, the second officer said. We just want to talk. John stepped back slightly, giving the officers room to work. His heart was pounding. This was the critical moment. If Derek panicked, if he tried to run or fight, someone could get hurt. Are you traveling with the young lady in the car? The first officer asked, nodding toward Minji. Yes, she is my girlfriend's daughter, Derek said. We are going to visit family. I see, the officer said. And where is her mother? She is at work, Derek said. His voice was getting louder. Why are you asking me all these questions? I have not done anything. Can we speak with the young lady? The second officer asked, moving toward the back door of the sedan. Derek stepped in front of him. No, you cannot just talk to her without permission. She is a minor. Sir, I need you to step back, the officer said firmly. The situation was escalating quickly. More people at the gas station were starting to notice. They stopped what they were doing and watched the scene unfold. I know my rights, Derek said angrily. You cannot just harass me for no reason. The first officer put his hand on his radio. Sir, I need you to calm down and cooperate. John watched all of this happen and felt his muscles tense. He was ready to step in if needed. He had trained in wrestling and acting his whole life. He knew how to handle himself. But he also knew that this was a police matter now. He needed to let them do their job. The second officer walked past Derek and opened the back door of the sedan. Miss, are you okay? He asked Minji gently. Minji looked at the officer, then at John, then at Derek. Her whole body was shaking. Then she did something brave. Something that took more courage than anything she had ever done in her life. She stepped out of the car and walked toward the police officer. No, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I am not okay. Please help me. John Cena pulled his black SUV into the gas station and let out a tired breath. He had been driving for hours. His back was sore and his eyes felt heavy. He was on his way to a charity event in another city, and he had decided to drive instead of fly. Sometimes he needed the quiet time alone on the road to think and relax. Being famous was not always easy. People recognized him everywhere he went. They wanted autographs and selfies. John never minded. He loved his fans. But sometimes the constant attention was exhausting. Driving alone gave him a break from all that. He got out of his SUV and stretched his arms over his head. The Florida sun was hot and bright. The gas station was busy with people coming and going. John put on his sunglasses and walked to the gas pump. He hoped nobody would recognize him. He just wanted to fill up his tank, maybe grab a coffee, and get back on the road. As he started pumping gas, John looked around at the other people at the station. It was a habit he had developed over the years. His father had been a wrestler too, and he had taught John to always be aware of his surroundings. Keep your eyes open, his father used to say. You never know when someone might need help. John noticed families loading groceries into their cars. He saw a truck driver checking his tires. He saw a group of teenagers laughing near the air pump. Everything seemed normal and peaceful. Then he saw the gray sedan parked 2 pumps away from him. At first, there was nothing unusual about it. Just an old car with a man standing outside and someone sitting in the back seat. But something made John look twice. Maybe it was the way the man was standing. Maybe it was the tense look on his face. John was not sure what it was, but something felt wrong. John pretended to focus on pumping his gas, but he kept watching the sedan out of the corner of his eye. The man finished pumping gas and walked toward the convenience store. That was when John got a clear view of the person in the back seat. It was a teenage girl. She looked about 15 or 16 years old. She had dark hair and a thin face. But what caught John's attention was the look in her eyes. She looked scared. Really scared. John had seen that look before. Years ago, he had worked with an organization that helped victims of domestic violence. He had met women and children who had been abused and hurt by people who were supposed to love them. They all had that same look in their eyes, a look of fear and hopelessness. The girl was holding up her hand near the window. John watched as she made a strange gesture with her fingers. She held her hand up like she was waving. Then she tucked her thumb into her palm and folded her fingers over it. John's heart skipped a beat. He recognized that signal. A few months ago, he had been asked to make a video for a public safety campaign. The campaign was about domestic violence awareness. They had taught him about different ways people might try to ask for help when they were in dangerous situations. One of those ways was a hand signal. The signal was simple but powerful. Thumb tucked in, fingers folded over. It meant I need help. It meant I am in danger. It was created so that people could silently ask for help during video calls or in public places when they could not speak freely. John had made the video and shared it with his millions of followers on social media. He had hoped it would help people. But he never thought he would actually see someone using the signal in real life. He watched the girl more carefully now. She made the signal again, more urgently this time. She was looking around desperately, trying to get someone's attention, but people just walked past her. Nobody seemed to notice or understand what she was doing. John felt a surge of adrenaline. This girl was in trouble. She was asking for help. And he might be the only person who understood what she was trying to say. He stopped pumping gas and looked at the convenience store. The man who had been driving the sedan was inside, waiting to pay. John had maybe a minute or two before he came back out. John pulled out his phone with shaking hands. He knew what he had to do. He had to call for help. But he also had to be careful. If he made the situation obvious, the man might panic. He might hurt the girl, or he might drive away before the police could arrive. John dialed 911 and brought the phone to his ear. He turned his back to the sedan so it would look like he was just making a normal phone call. 11. What is your emergency? A woman's voice answered. Hello, my name is John Cena, he said quietly. I am at a gas station, and I think I am witnessing a possible kidnapping or domestic violence situation. The dispatcher's voice became more alert. Can you describe what you are seeing, sir? John spoke quickly but calmly. There is a teenage girl in the back seat of a gray sedan. She is making the hand signal for domestic violence. You know, the one with the thumb tucked in? She looks terrified. The man who was driving just went inside the store to pay. Are you in a safe location? The dispatcher asked. Yes, I am at the pump next to their car, John said. But the guy is going to come back out any second. What should I do? Stay on the line with me, the dispatcher said. Can you give me the license plate number of the vehicle? John casually walked a few steps to get a better angle. He read the license plate number to the dispatcher. And what is your location? The dispatcher asked. John looked around and told her the name of the gas station and the street address he could see on a sign. Okay. I am sending police officers to your location right now, the dispatcher said. They should be there in about 5 to 7 minutes. Can you stay there and keep an eye on the vehicle? Yes, John said. But what if he tries to drive away before the police get here? Do not put yourself in danger, the dispatcher said firmly. But if you can safely delay them without confronting the suspect, that would be helpful. John saw the man coming out of the convenience store. He was carrying a bottle of soda and a bag of chips. He was walking back toward the sedan. He is coming back, John said into the phone. I need to do something to stall them. Be careful, the dispatcher warned. John hung up the phone and shoved it in his pocket. His mind was racing. He needed to keep that car from leaving. He needed to buy time for the police to arrive. But how? The man was almost at the car now. In a few seconds he would get in, start the engine, and drive away with the girl. And John might never know what happened to her. Then John had an idea. It was risky. It might not work, but it was the only thing he could think of. He took off his sunglasses and walked toward the sedan with a big, friendly smile on his face. He waved at the man like they were old friends. Hey there, John called out in a cheerful voice. How is it going? The man stopped and looked at John with confusion. Then his eyes went wide. He recognized him. Wait, are you John Cena? The man asked, his voice filled with surprise. John smiled even bigger. That is me. Are you a fan? The man just stood there staring, completely caught off guard. The bottle of soda hung loosely in his hand. Would you like an autograph? John asked, stepping closer. Or maybe a selfie? Inside the car, Minji watched this happen with shock and confusion. She had no idea what was going on. But John knew exactly what he was doing. He was buying time, and every second counted. Minji sat in the back seat of the old gray sedan and stared out the window. Her hands were shaking. She tried to stop them, but they would not listen. The car was parked at a gas station somewhere in Florida. She did not know exactly where. She had stopped paying attention to the roads and signs hours ago. The man in the front seat was pumping gas. His name was Derek, and he was her mother's boyfriend. Minji hated him. More than that, she was terrified of him. For the past 6 months, her life had become a nightmare that she could not wake up from. It started small. Derek moved into their apartment after dating her mother for only 2 months. At first, he seemed nice enough. He brought pizza on weekends and fixed things around the house. But then things changed. He started yelling at Minji for small mistakes. If she left a cup on the counter, he would scream at her for 30 minutes. If she forgot to take out the trash, he would call her stupid and worthless. Then the yelling turned into something worse. He started grabbing her arm too hard when he was angry. He would push her into walls. Once he slapped her across the face because she talked back to him. Minji tried to tell her mother, but her mother did not believe her. Derek was always sweet and kind when her mother was around. He knew how to hide his true nature. The worst part was that her mother worked long hours as a nurse. She left early in the morning and came home late at night. That meant Minji was alone with Derek most of the time, and when they were alone, Derek showed his real face. 2 days ago, things got really bad. Minji's mother had to work a double shift at the hospital. Derek had been drinking beer all afternoon. He got angry about something on television and started yelling at Minji. She tried to go to her room, but he grabbed her and would not let her leave. He locked her in the bathroom for hours. Minji cried and begged him to let her out, but he just laughed. When he finally opened the door, he told her they were going on a trip. He said her mother wanted them to visit his brother in another state. Minji did not believe him, but she had no choice. Derek packed a small bag for her and forced her into the car. They had been driving for almost 2 days now. Minji was scared. She did not know where they were going. She did not know what Derek was planning. All she knew was that she needed help. She needed someone to save her from this nightmare. The gas station was busy. People walked in and out of the convenience store. Families pumped gas into their cars. Children laughed and played near the air pump. Everyone seemed so normal and happy. Minji felt like she was watching them from another world. A world where she was trapped and screaming, but nobody could hear her. She remembered something she had seen on her phone a few weeks ago. Before Derek took her phone away, she used to watch videos on TikTok. One video talked about a special hand signal. It was a signal that people could use when they were in danger but could not speak. The video said it was created to help people during the pandemic when they were stuck in video calls with their abusers. The signal was simple. You held up your hand like you were waving, then you tucked your thumb into your palm, then you folded your fingers down over your thumb. It looked like you were making a fist, but the thumb was trapped inside. The video said this signal meant I need help, or I am in danger. Minji had practiced the signal after watching the video. She thought it was interesting, but never imagined she would actually need to use it. Now sitting in the back of Derek's car, it was her only hope. She looked at Derek through the window. He was still pumping gas, not paying attention to her. This was her chance. Maybe her only chance. Minji took a deep breath and held up her hand near the window. A woman walked past the car carrying a bag of snacks. Minji made the signal. The woman glanced at her but kept walking. Minji's heart sank. She tried again. An older man walked by. Minji pressed her hand against the window and made the signal as clearly as she could. The man looked confused for a second, then looked away and kept walking. Minji felt tears burning in her eyes. Nobody knew what the signal meant. Nobody was paying attention. She was invisible. A young couple walked past next. Minji made the signal again, more urgently this time. The woman looked right at her. For a moment, Minji thought she understood, but then the woman smiled and waved back at her, thinking Minji was just being friendly. They walked away holding hands. Minji wanted to scream. She wanted to bang on the window and yell for help. But she knew that would only make Derek angry. And if Derek got angry here in public, he might hurt her right in the parking lot. Or worse, he might drive away quickly and take her somewhere even more isolated. She looked around desperately. More people walked by. A teenage boy with headphones. A woman with 3 children. A man in a business suit talking on his phone. Minji made the signal at each of them. Some ignored her completely. Some glanced at her with confusion. Nobody stopped. Nobody understood. Derek finished pumping gas and walked toward the convenience store to pay. Minji had maybe 2 or 3 minutes while he was inside. She made the signal at every person who walked past the car. Her arm was getting tired, but she could not stop. This might be her last chance to get help before Derek drove away again. An elderly woman with white hair walked slowly past the car. Minji made the signal. The woman stopped and squinted at her through the window. Minji's heart jumped. Maybe this woman understood. Maybe she would help. But then the woman just smiled kindly and kept walking. She probably thought Minji was just a bored teenager playing with her hands. Minji felt completely hopeless. She had tried so hard. She had made the signal dozens of times. But nobody recognized it. Nobody knew what it meant. The video had said millions of people knew about this signal. It had said that if you were in danger, you could use it and people would understand, but it was not working. Nobody was saving her. Nobody even noticed that she needed saving. Derek came out of the convenience store carrying a bottle of soda and a bag of chips. He walked back toward the car with that mean look on his face, the look that made Minji's stomach twist with fear. She had maybe 30 seconds before he got back in the car, 30 seconds before they drove away from this gas station and continued to wherever Derek was taking her. Minji held up her hand one more time. She made the signal as clearly as she could. She stared out the window with tears in her eyes, silently begging someone, anyone, to notice her. But nobody did. Derek opened the driver's door and got in. He looked at Minji in the rearview mirror. "You better not have been causing any trouble back there," he said in a threatening voice. Minji shook her head quickly. "No," she whispered. Derek started the engine. Minji felt her last bit of hope dying. They were going to drive away. Nobody had helped her. Nobody had even tried. But then something happened that would change everything.